Hello, today I'm going to read you a traditional story, an old-fashioned one called The Ugly Duckling. Once upon a time, there was a duck. She lived on a farm and spent her days happily scratching for food in the farmyard with the other ducks and the chickens and swimming in the duck pond. But one day the duck felt restless. She couldn't settle to swimming in the pond or scratching for food as usual. "I know what I want," she cried. "I want to lay some eggs." She didn't want all the other ducks to know, so she scrambled out under the farmyard gate and into the field beyond. She waddled off down to the riverbank and found a nice quiet place where the grass was thick and lush and the rushes grew tall. "This is just the spot to build a nest. My eggs will be nice and safe here," she said. Once the duck had laid her eggs, she had to sit on them to keep them warm for many days. Every so often, she left the nest to go down to the river for some food and a drink of water, but she always hurried back to her eggs as fast as she could. Finally, the big day arrived. The eggs were ready to hatch. First 1, then 2, 3, 4 chicks pecked their way out through the eggshell. The duck was so thrilled she couldn't help quacking with excitement. "Oh, how little and beautiful and yellow you are! I shall be the envy of all of the other ducks in the farmyard." But the 5th duck was different. He wasn't little or yellow. He was big and grey. He looks different to the other ducks, doesn't he? And when he finally chipped his way out of the egg, his mother was horrified. "Oh my goodness," she sobbed. "What a very ugly duckling you are." The next day the mother took the 5 little chicks down to the river to teach them how to swim. Then it was time to go back to the farmyard. Proudly, the mother duck introduced her new brood, and the other ducks agreed that the 4 little yellow chicks were very beautiful indeed. But none of them liked the 5th chick at all. "He's so big and grey and ugly," they said. The ugly duckling tried to make friends, but no one would play with him or talk to him, not even his brothers and sisters. They all just laughed at him and said unkind things. So he decided to run away. Early one morning, he squeezed under the gate and ran down to the river. Then he swam and swam and swam until he could swim no further. Oh, the poor duckling. He's not ugly, he's just different. Night was falling and he was miles away from home in the middle of a dark wood. He climbed out on the riverbank. It was cold and the poor little ugly duckling was frightened and lonely. Then, as he huddled himself up under some leaves, he heard voices calling from the sky. Looking up, he saw some beautiful white swans flying overhead. "Oh, how lovely they are," he thought to himself. "If only I could be like them." And he fell fast asleep. The next day, the ugly duckling was looking for some food on the river when some wild ducks came swimming up. "Ha! What an ugly duckling you are," they said. "You can't stay here." And they pecked him with their sharp beaks until he ran away. Soon he was hopelessly lost in the wood. Rain was falling and the little ugly duckling was weak with hunger and tiredness when he came across a cottage. There was a gap under the door just big enough for him to squeeze through. Inside he found a lovely warm fire with a cat and a hen and a little old lady in front of it. That looks cosy. The little old lady gave the duckling some water to drink and some corn to eat and a cosy warm seat in front of the fire. "You can stay here as long as you like," she said. But the cat and the hen were jealous of the little duckling. They didn't want to share their home with him, so one night they cornered him. "You can't purr and you can't lay eggs," they said. "What use are you to anyone? And you're ugly too. You can't stay here." Then they pushed him out the door. So mean. So the poor little duckling set off on his travels once more, out onto the great lonely marshland. But winter was falling, and as the weather got colder and colder, it grew harder and harder for the duckling to find food. One morning a farmer came across the duckling, half frozen on the ice. He took the duckling home to his wife, who fed him and looked after him until he was strong again. But the farmer's children wanted to play with him. They chased him and pulled his tail until the duckling had to run away again. The ugly duckling stayed hidden among the reeds through the rest of the long, cold winter, until the spring sunshine fell brightly on the water. Then he stretched his wings and flew up into the sky and over the river. Down below, he saw 3 lovely white swans swimming. "Come and join us," they called. The duckling could hardly believe they were talking to him. But as he flew down, he caught sight of his own reflection in the river. He saw strong white wings and a long white neck, and he realised that he wasn't an ugly duckling anymore. He was a beautiful swan, just like the ones calling to him, and he would never be lonely again. There he is. The ugly duckling was really a swan all alone. What's that, Connie? Oh, Connie really liked that story. Bye-bye.